Hey everyone, today's guest on Roast West Coast is Mateo Nunez of Thoughts and Process Coffee. In honor of this episode drop, he's offering you 15% off your first order on thoughtsandprocess.com with the promo code RWC. That is the capitalized letters RWC. Go to thoughtsandprocesscoffee.com, use the promo code RWC, capital letters, to get 15% off. Links in the show notes and on roastwestcoast.com.
I'm Andrea, one of the hosts of the Voice of San Diego podcast. Every week, I get together with the other editors at Voice and explain the news that matters in San Diego. Elections, politics, law enforcement, big investigations, and some fun stuff. The great palm tree debate, ranked choice voting, bike lane mania. It's great journalism and a lot of fun. Every Friday, wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, that's Voice of San Diego.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 19 of the Roast West Coast Coffee Podcast. I'm Ryan Wolt, and this is the show where I bring you the stories of coffee professionals, entrepreneurship, and coffee education. Today I'll be sharing a rolling conversation with you, featuring Mateo Nunez. He is the founder and head roaster of Thoughts and Process Coffee in Orange, California. Thoughts and Process is a micro roaster that produces small batches of coffee each week. I know a lot of listeners of this podcast are aspiring coffee roasters or future cafe owners or coffee professionals, which is a really great compliment. And I'm excited that you're listening today because this is the show for you. Mateo isn't just running a coffee company. He also has a full-time job. And we talk a lot about how that balance works and why he spends his free time working on coffee instead of, say, day drinking a cocktail out of a giant reusable straw at a nearby beach. You may be asking yourself before we get started, what is the definition of a micro roaster? And I'm here to tell you it is exactly what you assume. It is a coffee roaster that purchases, roasts, and sells small amounts of coffee at a time. Often, micro roasters are run out of home roasting facilities, but not always, and there is no agreed upon definition of how much coffee needs to be roasted for a roaster to go from nano to micro to just small. Some definitions from days gone by list micro roasters as any roaster producing less than 100,000 pounds of coffee annually. I don't know many people that would consider that huge swath of roasters as being the same. To get a better idea of how much coffee is roasting and what he is roasting, check out @Thoughts and Process Coffee on Instagram, and I'll link to his online shop in this episode's notes. Once again, this show is coming to you from the road. I'm still in the Midwest, visiting my in-laws this week in Madison, Wisconsin. Today is actually my father-in-law's 70th birthday, which we're celebrating in true Midwest fashion with cheese curds, brats on the grill, and cold beer. I got the morning started off just right with a cup of batch-brewed Rwanda from Colectivo Coffee on Monroe Street, just southwest of the capital area downtown. Thanks to the team there for the great service and the lovely cup of coffee. I'm glad I got there early because as I'm recording this from the basement, a thunderstorm is raging overhead. Wherever you are, you should have a full cup of coffee in your favorite coffee mug right now. Maybe one with a rooster on it or a funny saying, because it is time for this interview with Mateo Nunez of Thoughts and Process Coffee on the Roast West Coast Coffee Podcast. Welcome to the Roast West Coast Coffee Podcast. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to meet with me.
No, I appreciate you taking your time to meet with me. I mean, I just started listening to you thanks to the Instagram post by Goose Bear Coffee. I totally got me introduced to you, and I just started with the backlog, man, and just started listening. I'm a mailman by day, so I listen to podcasts for my whole 6 hours a day straight. So like I'm caught up with like everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe you can get me connected with some sort of like mailman newsletter then, because I feel like that would be a good audience for me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We actually have a newsletter nationwide for USPS. It's kind of funny.
Do you guys talk about like what you listen to? Because I would imagine that's kind of a big part of your day.
We're not really supposed to be listening to anything because we're not supposed to have anything covering our ears for safety. But I actually have a Bose neck speaker, so I have my ears open. So like if I hear it, I can hear a dog or someone trying to talk to me. Like I can hear it because technically, even just an earpiece for like a Bluetooth, we're not supposed to have anything in our ears like for safety reasons. But I mean, like I said, with the neck thing, I got that approved. So
Okay, I was gonna say
definitely.
we can cut that. We can cut that out.
Oh yeah.
Well, before we get too far, if you wouldn't mind, let us know your name, what your company is, and what you consider your job title.
Yeah, well, my name is Mateo Nunez, and I'm the founder operator of Thoughts and Process Coffee. And I'm a micro roaster. Like I roast about 60 pounds every 2 weeks, roughly, and I have been selling for the last 2 years. So I feel like my company itself that I started was basically like my friends telling me like, hey, you make pretty good drinks. Like, what else do you think you can do? So and especially with my wife, like she encourages me and supports me wholeheartedly with this, and she it just is like a hobby that just kind of grew from just different people, family members, friends, just letting me know like, hey man, you got something here, like try to go for it. So I think I'm really like a small batch, like first gen like coffee person. I was in coffee at Nordstrom from 2003 to like 2011. I jumped around the company, but I started from a barista and went up to a manager and then kind of stopped coffee for a little bit. And unfortunately, my mom passed. And I think in the way of my grieving was I kind of latched on to coffee and kind of reestablished my love for it. My mom wasn't really a big coffee drinker, but she did like her coffee with a whole lot of cream and sugar. So I just after she passed, I just kind of going back into research mode and started discovering really cool shops around me and bought a home roaster and just started kind of going for it and just started roasting and then slowly building up to what I'm doing today is production roasting.
You mentioned your mother liked a whole lot of cream and sugar in her coffee,
Oh
and
yeah, it was. I mean, my grandparents were the same way. Like that was my earliest memory, was getting up on the weekends when I was with my grandpa, and we would go to the yard sales. But just before that, we'd go to Winchell's. He'd get his donut that the girl knew because he was there every day at 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and she already knew his coffee. He had the giant Winchell's like mug of like 48 ounces that you can buy, and you'd fill it for like a quarter because he bought that promotion because he was there for so much. So he'd go with this giant thing and they'd fill it up and they'd put his cream and sugar, and I'd get a donut and a hot chocolate. And that was like my first like experience with coffee. It was just like, okay, that's their coffee. And then I got a little older. They asked me to try it. The darkest, grossest instant coffee. That is what they drink with cream and sugar. So I tried it, didn't really like it. And then when I started working at Nordstrom as a barista, I mean, they tell you like you don't have to like it, but you do have to taste it so you can know what's good and bad. So I had a lot of experience with that, and I really fell in love with like making drinks and like having that craft. And at the time, that specialty coffee coming into existence, like a little bit more full stream, and Nordstrom was trying to go that route with their coffee bar because the Starbucks is in the mall as well. So we were always like, okay, ours are like smaller sort farms, and we're not going to rush the drinks because we want to take time to have quality ingredients. And I just learned from there to take time and really like try to do everything that you can to get that cup of coffee, because that cup of coffee for a lot of people is like a pick me up. So they need something that will refresh them and just like taste so good where it just gets your mind somewhere else. And it's like, okay, cool. Like whatever was happening earlier, I'm good. Let's keep going. Let's go forward. Because I mean, I think that's traditionally what coffee is. It's a ceremony, and it's to gather and to like reflect and have that time of peace, whether it's in the mornings or after church on Sundays, or or even afternoons or late nights for like a cigar and whiskey cocktail or something. Like it's it's always with somebody. And unfortunately, I have this passion for it now that it's all I talk about. Everyone's like, do you know anything else right now? I'm like, I think maybe. Like it's just I'm so just so learning and trying to look up new techniques and what's coming out, and just trying to keep up because, like I said, I'm a micro roaster. Like it's just me. I go out and do pop-ups by myself. I set everything up and just kind of give free samples and just have people try it. Because I think what I'm aiming for is like my style of roasting is kind of more like I like heavy-bodied coffees that kind of give you that reminiscence of like that dark roast, but I roast them really light as much as I can to bring out those lighter notes. So it's like you get that nice mouthfeel and you still get these nice like third wave like coffee notes that you're like, oh yeah, I do taste like grapefruit, or I can taste like raisin versus, like smoky. So I try to keep that balance, and I mean, for myself being such a small batch and local, that being a stepping stone into like introducing people to coffees, and Starbucks is still blowing up with their new refined drinks, which is like the cold foam, which bubble tea makers have been doing it for years. So for them to like jump on that bad way and then announce the new thing, it's just like they're always gonna be there. Like they're not going away anytime ever, no matter what happens. So it's like just concentrate on being small and craft. Like just take the time for everything. Be like, hey guys, I know it's a long line, or there's a lot of people, but I'm making sure everything tastes great, like to you and to what my standards are, because I want someone to take a drink and just be like, man, that's really good. Like just it just brings up those memories, even if you don't think about it, like those unconscious memories where you just feel better about something. Like it just helps you out in times that sometimes you don't know, especially with the pandemic and everything, where everyone still kind of not really scared anymore, but you still hear numbers and shit like that. So it's like kind of weird that it's normal that it's existing, which is kind of interesting. So I think everyone is really focusing on those little moments where you just have to kind of grab onto something and just be like, you know what, I'm okay, we're okay, doing the best I can, let's keep on going. Like just you keep moving forward no matter what.
Yeah, you mentioned a few things there that I want to kind of wrap around to, but before I do, I wanted to ask, what was your mom's name?
Betty. She
Betty.
changed it herself. Yeah, her name was actually Betty Jean. She was born in Texas, but she moved out of Texas when she was little. But she'd always say, I'm a Texan at heart. And I was like, Mom, you never lived there. Like you were a baby when they moved out. I mean, you grew up here in Pico Rivera. It's like a suburb of Los Angeles. She'd be like, no, Texas through and through,
There's an alternative universe where you could have grown up in Texas.
Oh yeah, she told me she wanted to name me Dallas. Like that was gonna be my name, was Dallas. And I was like, wow, okay. And I told her, I'm like, Mom, that's either like I'd be in porn or a weatherman. Like that's it. Like that's if you named me that, like at that time. Because even Mateo, like growing up, everyone couldn't pronounce it right. So I was just like, you can just call me Matt. That's no problem. But there was a Mateo on soap opera that everyone like was in love with. I think he's the guy that is married to Kelly Ripa. I think he was like the Mateo. So everyone knew like that name. So when I was little growing up, that's all I'd hear, like, oh yeah, like the show. I'm like, yeah, like, yeah.
That's so funny because I grew up in a house that didn't have like a TV every day. But when I would visit my grandfather, we'd go fishing. I'd spend a week with him in the summers. And in the morning, he'd wake me up at like 6 o'clock, make me go out in the boat. Like we'd go fishing for a couple hours. We'd come in for breakfast, and then everything in the house would stop while he watched his stories, which is what he
Yeah.
called his soaps,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep,
from 10 to
exactly.
noon, it was General Hospital. It was One Life to
Mm-hmm.
Live, As the World Turns. My grandfather, who just turned 99, it was 6'3", 220, kind of a,
Yeah,
big
big
tough
guy.
guy, but every
Yeah.
day soaps, got to watch the stories. And then we'd go back out fishing after lunch.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mom was the same way. She did babysitting for a while because she's a single parent growing up. So she'd babysit kids, but like that was their nap time, and it had coincided to be her favorite story time, and that never changed. Like she'd make sure to, when she was working later, to get afternoon shifts on certain days because she knew like a good episode was coming up, so she wouldn't miss her stories. And then the DVRs came out, and then we just recorded everything. So then she, at that point, it's just like I can watch it whenever.
Well, that's really interesting. I love that kind of little backstory. I did not know that Nordstrom's had a coffee program.
Yeah, I mean, they still do. Yeah, they've had it. I mean, my first job was at Disneyland in 2001, and I know my mom started working at Nordstrom at that point, and I quit Disneyland And she's like, hey, come work at Nordstrom. I'm like, I don't want to sell clothes. Like, I'm okay, or jewelry. And she's like, no, there's like a cafe, and there's a coffee bar that I think I know the manager real well. So he's hiring. You want the job? I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds kind of cool. And it was my, sophomore year of college, and I got in, just met the manager, put an application in. Then they're like, all right, start Monday. Like, here you go. And yeah, just kept going from there. So it's kind of weird because they were like a high-end specialty store, but they weren't in every single Nordstrom. Like, they had one in Escondido. I think at the time, like, that was the only one in San Diego that actually had an espresso bar. And it was like the experimental one at the one point, where they would just put in like the newer coffee machines or the newer espresso machine, or like we started doing like French presses every couple once in a while to do like single origin, because they were really starting to do that around 2003, 2004. Like, they were going more like, definitely noticing third wave was happening and was kind of like popping off, because I think around that time, I think Portola and everyone started, and Intelligentsia was coming around. Like, I never heard of them because I was just at Nordstrom, and it was just kind of like an insulated world. But every once in a while, they'd be like, check out this new promotion. You can make coffee by hand. Like, it's slow and steady and better. Like, that was always the message, is like, we're fighting Starbucks because we're taking the time to make like better drinks, and we're using better beans. Like, they're not dark roast for everything. It's like, these are single origins that we'll get for like winter special or like a winter blend. I just bought some like about a year ago, like their Manhattan blend, and it's okay. It was all right, like, for a blend, and I think it was kind of an older bag, but it was just a nice balanced, like, medium to light dark blend with like heavier notes on more like wood and like molasses and like dark brown sugar. They actually partnered with like some local different roasters, like in Austin, where they actually offer like a third party roaster on their website, which I was like, well, that's kind of nuts. I've never saw that. And then they started carrying Espero now. A couple, I think, Fellow, they have their kettles and their pour over Stag X dripper. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's really
it's kind of nuts that they're playing. Oh yeah, because I mean, I remember hearing about pour overs because I went to a shop when I was younger, and like more of the manager's side, and I was talking to my regional. I was like, hey, how about like these pour overs? Like, it's just a kettle and like a cone. Like, why don't we start doing that? Like, that'll differentiate us. And they're like, no, like, that's going to take too much time. We need to, pump out drinks faster because we're trying to compete with Starbucks. So that's not going to happen. And then now, like, they do offer that. Like, you can get a pour over at certain locations. Like in Irvine, they have the espresso there where they do a pour over. I don't know if they still do now, but I was just like, okay, well, now they're playing catch up to everyone else, because now we have all these nice, like, Steady State and like all the other places around here in San Diego. Like, they're everywhere. Like, all these, and that's what I love too. Like, a lot of people just started roasting the last couple of years and like doing their own thing and having people. I mean, it's kind of hard as you're starting new with everyone else to like try to get yourself out there and to be like, hey, I'm here too, guys. Like, try this. Like, and it's encouraging because everyone's different. And so far the community, like the people that I've met, are nice, and they're happy, and they're happy to support and lend like their feedback and just be honest, and like, especially reaching out to you. Like, man, I mean, I just went for it. I was like, dude, I love his conversations. He's got a really good attitude, and you're definitely like engaging and have some interesting questions too. And that's not just about that, but it's about the people too. And I'm sure your audience is growing. And I heard like your newsletter. I mean, I'm going to try to check that out. I listen to it at the end. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get to it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The newsletter is great. Quick plug, but you can also it has the podcast in it. So for some people that aren't big podcast people, they can open their email and listen to it right there if they want. I'm thinking about you listening to the show, and you've been roasting for 3 years, been selling for 2, if I remember that right. And if it wasn't clear to anyone at the top, you mentioned that you work as a postal carrier.
Yeah, I'm currently a postal carrier for the last 5 years.
Right. So how long were you thinking about getting started roasting for yourself as you're walking your beat before you said you took the plunge? And then what did you do? Did you just, go on Amazon and order a 1 pound roaster? Did you find a place to, how did you get started?
I basically went, because I'm in the city of Orange. So there's Bodai Leaf on Catella, and they're a whole bean green seller. They are a home roaster supporter. They have events for local home roasters where You submit your best coffee, and they judge it against everyone who submits. And I kept missing the window because it's our busiest time of year when they usually have it of packages and stuff. So I was working 10-hour days, so I just never had a chance to submit it. And I just saw the Be More. I was like, you know what? All right, I have the money. I can do it. Let's try it out. So I started on Be More and watching YouTube videos and looking up resources. Like I try to buy as much as I can and just read and listen to videos. I mean, Prometheus, like I met him at the roastery. I used to roast, I still kind of do, but I haven't done it in a while down there because it's gas prices. But the California Roasting Collective, they're great guys. Like as soon as I felt that I needed to move up from a Be More and try to kind of make this as a go, like something more than a hobby. Luckily at the time, Elliot, I think I read a year before it opened that that's what he was planning to do. So I got super excited. I made a note in like Gmail to alert me, like, cause he said approximately around this day is going to open. And then the time went by and it was open, and I paid for the membership and started roasting on a Mill City 500 gram, just trying it out, a couple of pounds, every couple of weeks, and then moved up to their SF6 and kind of stayed there for a while. And that's kind of where I was currently at. So it was, and Len and Elliot and all the guys that work there, they're great guys. I mean, they don't have to like share anything or tell you anything, but they're totally like open and be like, hey, what do you think of this? Or, any questions or anything. They're just totally just friendly and just like, yeah, dude, yeah, let me see. Like, oh, I can see that. Or maybe like do this a little bit. Like, it's just a great community, those guys, and they're a great group of guys. And I missed down there. I went down there for the Scott Rowe roasting class. So I got to see him again and talk and catch up. And it was real great. And met other roasters like Storyteller Roasters, and a couple guys out of, I think that's what they're called, out in Temple City. I got there and it was a great class. Like I kind of stumped Scott a little bit with a question I had about my roasting technique that I did for a dark roast that I really liked. And like his just response was just like, I've been doing this for like 30 years and never have I heard anyone doing that. And just loved it at that.
Yeah, you got to share that now so we can ask it on one of our Coffee Smarter episodes, see if we can stump someone else.
Oh, no, it was just like a roasting technique to kind of keep everything going. And he was just like, yeah, just never heard of, or he never thought like to do that. Cause I would basically, to get it to dark roast, I get it to my temperature that I would dump it at, but I would leave it there. So I would just turn the gas off completely because I would let it get 4 or 5 degrees hotter and just let it sit there with no gas for up to 4.5 minutes. And that's my dark roast right now I have with my Brazil. And It's fantastic. Like it's not too smoky. It's got a nice like fragrancy of like a light tobacco. And it just has a nice like aftertaste of vanilla. That was my technique. And I just asked him like, hey, is that okay? Because I know he usually likes to turn off the gas just before, roasting. Like that's what every roaster does. Like right before you dump your beans to cool, you turn off all the gas all the way and then just dump it. And that's not what I do. I'm a little different, like I know it's like cooking. That's what I think the best advice I got from a roaster up in Portland. It was this cool little house. You walked in and it was just like everything was original. It was all wood. He had drawings from his community. He had books and games and like just comfy old chairs, like velvet and like sofas and a piano. And it was just like a little bar, and he had a roaster right behind him. And he's just been doing it for a long time. And he was just like, best advice I can give you is learn to make caramel. Once you know how to make caramel, you can roast coffee, because that's basically the same understanding of like when to kind of control your gas. And, obviously I think new people would be like, all right, let me turn it up. Okay, let me turn it down. Let me turn it up. Like you're really taking it too literal, because you don't do that at all. I mean, I think everyone's going to make that mistake when they first try to roast with a gas roaster. I'm pretty sure everyone's done that at least once or twice. And then it's like, wait, that's not good. It just kills everything.
Well, I actually drank your Brazil Espirito Santo dark roast this morning.
Oh, nice.
It was the last of the samples of yours that I had. I just hadn't gotten to, and I tried it this morning, and I made it, and then I went back and I had just enough to make like a half a cup of the non-dark version. And I actually preferred the dark version of this, and that wouldn't be something I would lean to normally.
Oh, for sure.
So that's a credit to the dark roast. Whatever it is that you're doing, I really enjoyed that. I want to ask you about Thoughts and Process, which is the name of your company. And you got kind of a cool robot logo-y design, that's probably the reason like I connected with you on social media even was because I saw
Oh
that and
yeah.
I was just like, oh, that's a cool design.
Oh, thanks, man.
What does Thoughts and Process mean? Like, how does that relate to your company? What does it mean to you? And where did you kind of come up with this design and brand for what you're doing?
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, I actually had the name. It was a like a live journal I had in the early 2000s. That's what I named, like, because I was an English major in college, and I would do short stories and poems and a bunch of stuff. And I wanted to start a live journal of just random snippets of just interesting things to write down, like as a writing exercise, like just whatever was in my thought at that moment, just write it, whether it turned out to be a story or like a 4 letter poem or a haiku or just like a quote or anything like that. And I was like leaning toward, like, the one I kept liking was like paper eating trees. Like, I really like that name. So I had that for the first time, and then I thought about it. I was like, well, everything's a process no matter what you do, and everything requires thought. I was like, thoughts and process. I'm like, I think that's a better name for like what I'm trying to convey with these stories and random things, because I've unwritten novels that are a story, at least a couple of them that I really want to sit down and write, but I just never have the time, or just like the time I do have it, I'm like, oh, actually I should be doing this and doing this, and it's just, unfortunately, just I've never finished it, and that's like, it's dumb. Like, I'm trying to get to it, but it's like I think I have a little ADHD where it's like, okay, I have this new thing to focus on, and I have this other thing to do, and some things get lost in the shuffle. And but I mean, just that general, like, just everything is a process. Like, grieving and being happy and celebrating and just living life is a process. Everything has a cycle, and everything goes from up to down, no matter what. But like, even before the pandemic, like, I just thought, like, everyone needs to take a little bit of time to kind of think about stuff, because I mean, I usually, like I said, I'm listening to a podcast, so I'm not really processing my own feelings sometimes with things, and just keeping everything busy to kind of go. But like, I do take those times in certain moments, or memories of my mom will hit me every once in a while, and I'll miss her. And to be okay with that, and to process that at that moment, and to keep on going, because that's all she ever wanted to do, was just get another moment of life, and to just keep living and seeing her loved ones and doing what she loved to do, and talking to her sister that she loved very much, and her mom. And like, to me, it just felt, described like what I wanted to do with my coffee. Like, I would love it to be like the next big thing at some point, and grow this business in the next 5-10 years to like a steady state level, or an onyx level, or anything like that. Like, that's cool. Like, I think that would be successful. But I also consider being successful like selling a bag a day, or like selling, like, I had a pop-up on Sunday, I sold 8 drinks and 6 bags of coffee, and I was like, that's a great success. Like, that's cool. Like, I was worth me being out there for 4 hours on a Sunday in the middle of my day. Like, I enjoyed it. And nice people, they take a chance. Mostly everyone came in with Starbucks, or they had like some fruit drinks, some smoothies, and it's a hot day, so those get sold first. You want a refreshing horchata, or like a spicy watermelon lime juice or something. Up here in northern, I mean, I'm sure your weather down there is like, just always doesn't go below or above 70 sometimes, right? Like, it's just
Oh,
nice.
it's been rough all month.
Really?
We're May gray, June gloom. We're hovering around 65. It's nuts.
Oh man,
He,
that's,
he says, and everyone around the country goes,
oh yeah,
keep it,
right.
shut your mouth.
Yeah,
Actually, we've
no.
had an unusually cool spring, cooler than normal. But you're right. Yeah, like there's never a day that I can't go outside. I mean, for the
Yeah,
most part, if I want to.
exactly.
And
Yeah, I mean, I live outside.
yeah, even walking the dog at like 9 o'clock at night, and I might throw on my puffy coat, but I'm also wearing shorts and flip flops. So,
Exactly. Yep, that is the California uniform: flip flops and shorts.
yeah, I've gotten used to it. I grew up in the cold.
That's interesting. Where in the cold? Up, where are you
I grew
from?
up in Wisconsin,
Oh,
and
nice. My buddy's
so
from there.
very cold. I grew up in central Wisconsin, and I remember winters being much worse than they have been. Kind of that whole like things were always colder. But also now, I just have learned to adjust. You learn to adapt, and the first year we moved to California, we're out in shorts and t-shirts year round and swim trunks. And,
Oh yeah.
The second year you're wearing a hoodie, and the third year you got a stocking cap. And, now I'm wearing, gloves, and my wife's got a heating pad in the bed at night, and it's 55,
Yeah.
60 degrees out. So,
Yeah.
so
No,
you
I
adapt.
mean,
We've been here
I,
almost 10 years now.
yeah, no, I've been here all my life. I was born and raised here. My dad was in the Navy, so I was born in the San Diego Naval Hospital when it was pink. My dad would always tell me that. You were born in a pink hospital, boy. I'm sorry, but it's the Navy. That's just what it was. I was like, all right.
But you didn't move around then as a military child.
No, his end of the term, because he was in the Navy and he worked on computers. Actually, he was a network technician. He would build mainframes, and he learned to do that. And he left. I think his like contract was how he had a year left when I was born. So we were only down there for a year, and then he got out. And I think he got a job with like FedEx because they started doing the tracking in like the late 80s. Because I remember just always being around computers and technology, and for me it was normal. Like my dad had a garage, and instead of wood tools and carpentry and like gardening supplies and stuff, it was soldering irons and boards and wires and alligator clips and wire strippers like everywhere. And he had a workbench that his dad built because my grandpa was a carpenter. He didn't have an education, so he was a janitor at the local high school for 40 plus years, but he was a carpenter by trade. He learned how to do it when he was younger. He always did it. So like everything in my grandparents' house was wood built by him. And I remember he built a tool shed in the backyard. Like he poured his cement and he built the frame. And like I remember helping him when I was little, like handing him nails while he was up there with my uncle, and they were just build everything. And I always thought that was cool. And like I always wanted to do it, but I just didn't have I guess I just couldn't see it. Like I could see what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't physically do it. And I try to learn, but the idea of like just crafting something has always been like with me since I was so little, because I was experienced to it. Like you don't have to go to big stores or big names to get stuff. Like sometimes the guy around the corner who sells tamales out of his van, like those are the best tamales you'll ever get because they're homemade and they get the good stuff. Like that's was filled with like they used real Crisco like lard like in their food. That's why everything tasted better in the 80s and the 90s. Like everything was lard based, so it was delicious. And that was like better than going to like a $40 dinner at like wherever, like a big chain. And like I've always collected things, and like I had just random always little things of like small amounts and small limited quantities. Like I always liked collecting like I collected comic books for a long time, and cards and pogs. And just the idea of that, like these ones were handmade by somebody, like was always like just like that's really cool. Like I wish we as a country kind of went back to that, because we lost that. Because I mean that's why everything in your grandparents' house are now great grandparents, because I think our generation, I just turned 39 this year, so I was born in the 80s, and I remember growing up. I'm like, yeah, I'm an 80s kid, but I'm like, no, I wasn't. I grew up in the 90s. Like I should really be saying that like everyone else. Like everyone like liked the decade that was before they were born, because it was like the coolest thing. So if you were born in that decade, I think that was the fad to like, yeah, I'm an 80s kid because that's when I was born. And then the millennials turned up, and I was like, am I one? I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm like the last year of being a millennial, so technically I'm that.
I think there's a term for people that grew up kind of between 79 and 82. I fall into that bracket as well, where
Yeah.
we weren't really part of that generation before. We're not really part of the generation after, because we had a childhood before the internet, but we were
Yeah.
there young enough to be the first adopters as well.
Oh yeah, and to see it. Yeah, I mean my dad had AOL, and before that it was Navigator Netscape. And I remember him always like going online and showing me. Like I learned to type when I was 5 years old, because my dad would buy these video games that were like Math Blaster, and you would have to do the math problem and then enter it on the computer on the keyboard. And like typing one where you would just type as fast as you could and how accurate you could. Like he made that into a game or something. And I just learned to type. So when like computers like in high school was like a class, I was like, all right, I'll take it. And it's like, okay, guys, this is the power button that turns it on. And I'm like, I could build that for you. Like, these are crappy computers. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, these are floppy disks still. Like, we should be on a mini disk right now. Because my dad always had the newest stuff because he was in doing mainframes and technology. So he's always building and had leftover parts that they were gonna toss, or he'd like take them home and like fix them and repair them. To me, being in that age of, yeah, we saw that early adoption, but I kind of had more of a head start just because my dad was in that field already, which is kind of nuts. Because even now, people my age, they're like my supervisor is like 4 years older than me, and he's like, I just see him type, and he's literally like with one finger, just like A,
Well, I
B.
can
I'm like,
shout
what
out
are you
my
doing?
dad, who I think has been listening to the show. Hi, Dad. Because he was both ahead of the game. I remember we had a Apple computer that when I was a kid, I had a floppy disk Sesame Street game that I would learn how to
Nice.
like build layer cake and like learn
Yeah,
spelling, all
yeah.
that stuff. And this is
I
early
remember that game
80s.
too. Yeah.
Now today in 2022, he still has an AOL account. So he's kind of been
Oh,
on both ends of that spectrum.
he's hanging on, man. He's an OG. You can't let that go. I have mine too. I think somewhere. I don't remember the password. I have two, and I'm really embarrassed by them because I was like 8 years old for the first one, and I got into magic. I was a magician for like since 10 years old. That was my screen name. It was like the Great Merlin, like GGR8, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. And I look back, I'm like,
Screen names
man.
were important.
Oh yeah, everything was so. That was it. That was Twitter, Facebook. Like I was all before that. I mean, I remember when MySpace was the big thing, and Friendster. Like I remember being in college, and they're just like, "Dude, check this out. This is super cool." I'm like, "What are you guys even talking about?" And then you had your sparkly song that would play automatically. That's why everything would take 30 years to load because you had all the animations and gifs and really bad everything
Yeah, but
describing everything.
MySpace, we all owe a debt of gratitude to MySpace because it taught an entire generation some very basic coding concepts.
Oh yeah, HTML. Everyone like, yeah, like my wife remembered because she used to make her own stuff too, and she's like, I know all the color codes. Like I still remember them. I'm like, yeah, I remember you had to know that.
You mentioned earlier that you had done a pop up recently,
Mm-hmm.
and as a small micro roaster who kind of got started about, let's say, I'm guessing here a little bit, but about a year before the pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic could have really just shut you down, right? Like you hit a wall there as far
Oh,
as
for sure.
growth and as far as getting your name out there, as far as interacting with the coffee community. How did you kind of navigate that? And did it motivate you or inspire you to do more? Or did it actually give you time to kind of maybe focus on what you were doing? How did you handle that scenario?
For me, because I think getting started around that time, it only affected me with like shipping times and stuff like my green coffee that would come in. Other than that, because luckily, just with like kind of the day job, just I would just kind of do my routes, and sometimes people would be outside and they ask me questions and stuff, and just before like I kind of leave and be like, hey, by the way, I roast coffee and I'm local in the area. Like, here's I have a card or check out this website, and I kind of probably shouldn't be doing that like as a mailman. But just I would just be conversation like, or just like, hey, by the way, I roast coffee. You guys ever need any? Even now, like days off, I have a couple of customers that will buy a bag, so I'll drop off on my days off, or if I do the route, like I can do a local like deliveries, and I make sure to set that up because even with the pandemic, it helped me out only because more people were like everything was running out of stuff, and I think people were like, well, you're local. Well, that's cool. I want to let me support local because that's when everything was starting to come coalesce. Like after, really 2021 is when pop-ups, like local pop-ups, I'm talking about like people just literally getting together and being like, hey, I started doing sourdough bread making. Actually, I have a bunch of loaves. Like, you want to buy some? Like, and I know these two kids because my first pop-up was actually at my cousin's house in her front yard in Uptown Whittier, where she has this big, just like open area, and she started selling Scentsy. Like I think a lot of people, it's like kind of the newer Tupperware situation where you sell these cool wax holders, and there's like, I have a Baby Yoda one and R2D2, and like there's Disney themes and sports themes. But she started selling, she's like became one of the head sales, and she started doing these nights. She's like, hey, why don't you make coffee for people? Like charge them a couple of bucks per drink and just come on over when I have these parties. They'll come and pick up because it's COVID safe, and if they want to drink, you're there, and you can give them a cup of coffee and sell them a cup of coffee. I was like, all right. And then she started inviting a couple other friends that were local that did like handmade yarn, like soap scrubbers and like dolls and wood. And people got into like wood carving and cutting and making signs and reupholstering chairs and stuff. Like a lot of local people in Uptown Whittier started doing stuff for their own because pandemic, like people are waiting 3.5 months for a service call for, something. Everything just kind of shut down. So
Well, and they're also at home because they're not going out anymore, especially that first
exactly.
year. I know people
Oh
are
yeah.
going out now, but for that first year, even people who weren't as concerned about COVID, there still really wasn't anywhere for them to go.
No, yeah, exactly. And my family, I'm the same way with me and my wife. Like we have her older parents. Like we have been careful for the last few years, and we never got sick. Never, we got vaccinated as soon as we could. We had our turn and stuff, and just always wear a mask. And I always wear a mask indoors when I'm at my office, and when I'm by myself, I take it off. And if I interact with people, I put it back on. Like there's a lot of studies where they say masks don't work or anything else. I'm like, I don't know. I just know that since I started wearing it all the time, just in general, like I haven't gotten sick like a normal flu. Like I haven't been sick in 2 years, and that's actually really kind of nice. Like I'm like, well, maybe it helps something. It definitely blocks something because we never got sick. Like period, knock on wood. Like taking vitamins, and I think everyone got into better health and working out and just trying to do that stuff that you can't go out and do anymore. So everyone's just kind of more at home. And I think my cousin doing these little pop-ups for her people like helped me and got more local people in Whittier and around the surrounding areas because they would drive from all over the area like 20 minutes away to come pick up their stuff for Scentsy. So just doing that, and then started kind of popping around. Like a couple of people started doing it as a business where they're just like there's a uptown Whittier market at the local high school where I think they rent the parking lot for a weekend. And this guy's like, hey, you guys pay us like $40 a spot, and then we're going to be here all day. I'll promote you on social media. I'll make sure to tag me. Like I have a following of 1,000 people. So we should be getting a lot of people here for you guys to sell your stuff. So I was doing a couple of those, and that's pretty much kind of where I'm at right now. Cause I work Monday through Saturday, 7:30 to basically 7 o'clock at night, just because my office is short staffed. So everyone's mandated overtime. So I work 10 hours a day pretty much almost all the time. So when I get home, it's kind of hard to keep going. But I mean, I come home and make sure to roast. I roast on Sundays. I found a new place up here because just gas is getting real bad. And I wasn't roasting as much. So like for me, I want to, I've always, like I said, enjoyed making drinks for people, and a cafe would be awesome. But like just seeing how the pandemic, it hurt a lot of people, and a lot of people had to shut down because of the brick and mortars and the situation and the relief. I think now starting something would be easier, but everything's so expensive because of it. So I always thought of the idea of like a trailer, and then I saw how popular and like a lot of people do those trailers now. So then I'm constantly rethinking like, well, the house we live at is zoned for construct like a business. It's a business zone. So technically, if I build a trailer and put it out front on our yard and call it a coffee stop, I can do that because it's zoned for commercial. So I just have to build it. So I'm like, well, or just buy a shed from Home Depot and then just put a window and put coffee. Because I have a big sign that I have, so I can put that outside and wake up 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, work till 7, go deliver mail, come back home, maybe be open or Sundays all day. Like, who knows? Like, I have all these different ideas, and with technology and like everything else, like people are changing. Like, they're doing coffee stations out of the back of their vans. Like, they have that set up now, where you just drive a van around, and like not even the Sprinter vans, like just the Astro van, like just like or a Fiat. I've been seeing things like in Europe that they've been doing. Or the containers are really popular right now because they were cheap, but I think now they gotten a little bit more expensive because they were catching on. Like, oh, people are using these for kitchens, and now they're food parks, and we can sell these for a lot more. Because I remember when I first heard of the idea of like buying one, they weren't that expensive. They were like $800 for like a 3x3. Like now they're thousands of dollars and they'll do it for you. They're like, we'll prep it for you if you wanted a kitchen. Like, we'll do that, and it's going to cost you this much more, but it'll be, California safe, and everything will be good. All you got to do is add your equipment, and it's like $100,000. So it's like, and that's not even buying the coffee machines. I found this guy on Instagram. His name is Coffee Conspiracies, and he started a nitro coffee bike. up in Santa Cruz, and he used to be in coffee, and then pandemic, and fortunately got laid off, and he's went all in with his coffee because he was already in there, and he's a great guy, and his name's Eddie, and he was brewing cold brew. He was finding micro roasters like me, and he took a chance. I kind of saw him. I reached out on Instagram ad because I clicked those all day. So he got recommended. So I was like, oh, let me check him out. I'm like, that's cool. And him doing like micro roasters from all over the place. Like he's mainly out of Santa Cruz, so he'd get stuff from San Francisco and other Santa Cruz or Wisconsin or like Idaho. Like he'd really find really small, like just starting guys and promote them on his bike for a weekend. And he bought some coffee for me, and he sold out, and it was a great hit. And then he transitioned into being a roaster, which I mean, he's doing great. And then he's switching up from a nitro bike to a coffee cart. So he's kind of moving up in that direction, and he uses a ground control. So like he threw his cold brew into that now. So like I haven't had a chance to try it, but he has really good reviews, and it's just like an idea of like, dude, that's very similar that I had in mind. I have to work full time, so it's harder to kind of get that going and promote. And like my Instagram's okay, like I have to really redo it and make it a little nicer and try to put more time and effort. But like sometimes I'm like, I just made this drink and it came out good right now. Let's just post it. Like, or I'm making this right now. Like it's always, I gotta have to try to plan it. But
Sure, but you're also working, and this is something you do on the side. We're kind of talking a little bit about down the road, and what's up next. Realistically, this seems to be something that you're passionate about. I mean, you said maybe 5-10 years, it grows and grows and grows. Is that something you really see for yourself? This would be the thing that I do, and then my job is the thing that I do on the side.
yeah,
Because
I mean,
I always have more than one thing going on, but it's mostly because I can't be alone with my thoughts, so I always have to be
yeah, you
working
gotta be
on something all
busy.
the time,
Yeah.
and stay busy.
I would like it to be like, I really enjoy it. It's just something unfortunately, it's just an obsession now. Like it's just think, eat, drink, sleep, coffee. And I have to like remember to not do that and step away and be like, okay, there's life too. Like, let's see what's going on in the news, or like talk to your family. Maybe like that might be a good thing to do because it's just like working. I'll have a 5-minute conversation sometimes and then be like, all right, I gotta place and fix these orders, or I gotta prep the cold brew for the event. And so it kind of takes away from that time. So it's like I gotta remember that even though like I'm trying to make this passion, that there's always more to everything. Again, taking the time for everything has a process, and take those thoughts and to really like reflect and to remember. Sometimes everyone gets wrapped up in your normal routines that you get sometimes, and you're on autopilot sometimes. You're just kind of going through and you're making sure everything gets done to the level of proficiency that it needs to be. But when you get home, it's just like, especially with the pandemic, it just feels like everything's just like heavy. So it's like the time you want to get up and do stuff, it's like, you just need 5 minutes to take a nap and just to kind of like get yourself gathered and then get up and keep going and do everything. And so it's like also kind of hard because like having like some of my friends were the same thing. It's like, that's all you kind of talk about too. Like, yeah. And then if not, it's not that. Like I kind of thoughts are wondering about something else or a process or what I can do to make this taste better, or like, hey, that's a cool tea drink. Maybe ask them where they got that tea. Like, unfortunately, like I kind of don't have that. I guess that nervousness to just go up to someone and be like, "Hey, that's real. You have like a cool shirt. Where'd you get it?" Like sometimes I'll just do that randomly and just be like, "Hey, that's a cool whatever. Like, where'd you get that from?" Or, "Yeah, good shoes, man." Like, my mom was the same way. She did it all the time. And I think after her passing, I kind of took on some more of her social mannerisms a little bit more because I was raised by my mom, but like my parents were divorced, but my dad would always tell me like, "You look just like me. I can't deny you. Your brother maybe, but you, I can't deny." And my mom would say the same thing. She's like, "You just look too much like him. Like you look identical." And for like I do. Like all the pictures prove it. Like, but my dad would always tell me like, you act just like your mom. Like you're your mom's son." And I was like, okay. Like I didn't know what that meant, but I mean, unfortunately I'm a little weird, but I think up front, like when you just look at me normally, it's like, oh no, he just seems like a guy, like whatever. And then I'll start getting excited about something and just like, okay, you gotta slow down. You're rambling, you're overloading people. Like you're just excited. Like You gotta relax.
I would say fortunately, you're a little weird. That would be my
Oh,
perspective. There you go. Like
yeah.
being weird
I
is a
think.
badge of honor, and
Oh,
being
yeah.
passionate too. So what do you think about your coffee that you're making today compared to the coffee you were making at the start on the Be More?
It's definitely more consistent, and it definitely tastes better. The Be More is a good little starter, but because you can't really you don't know a true temperature unless you like mod it and then put your own bean temperature probe in it to get it more accurate. Because all you can control is like at the speed of the fan, and I usually had it on full blast because on full blast it still is not doesn't keep it really moving that long. And a roast, like a 1 pound roast I would do, would take like 25 minutes because you'd have to wait for it to warm up to a certain temp. But then there's safety measurements. If you got just 2 degrees above that safety recall, it would shut down and then it would cool all the way down. You had to wait 15 minutes for it to cool down and to like start it up again and kind of watch it while it warmed to be more accurate. It was still good coffee because I sent it off to a couple of friends. I actually listened to another podcast called the Coffee Lovers Podcast. They're out in Seattle, Jesse from Conduit Coffee. They've been doing it for years, and I started listening to them. And I'm like, hey guys, I just reached out. I was like, hey, can I send you? I'm a brand new home roaster. Can I send you some of my coffee? Just tell me your thoughts. And they did, and kind of helped me out a little bit because up there, Jesse, they like more of a medium to medium dark roast up in Seattle. I think that's more of their tens, like trending. And Jesse does a great roast. He has like a really good blends, and I've had some beans from him. They're really nice. It's very different from I think down here, like the style that everyone's linked to. I think this is California, avocado toast, and people like their natural processed coffees, and Ethiopians. I think now everyone's who's been into it, that's just like the standard. That's what you get when you walk into a coffee shop. Like you go in, you look at their origins, and you're like, okay, they got 6 on tap. Let's see what I want. Do I want the Peru, the Belize, the natural Ethiopian, or the washed Ethiopian, or this anaerobic Colombia? Like the people who've been doing this already know. And now I think that kind of grade of coffee being so much more available in little roasters like me, or even cafes, or even other people that are now rotating and doing like several different local coffees or East Coast coffees like around here. I think more people are willing to take the chance to drink black coffee. And that's kind of like whenever I sell a bag, I always ask them like, okay, like I wonder, how do you drink your coffee? Like cream and sugar, or do you do the creamers that are already pre-mixed with everything? Or do you drink it black and iced or hot? Like, what do you use? Like, I usually try to strike up a conversation, like just in general, just so that way, because when people look at my bags and stuff and they're reading the titles and they're seeing what it is, sometimes it doesn't click too much because what they know from what they're used to drinking. I mean, now more people like Starbucks has all their little light blends that are still dark. As much as they want to say light, it's still dark roasted coffee. Like I think more people definitely are trying everything. I think that trend of it being the new standard, at least like almost everywhere, that's people are discovering. It's bringing it all back to like what it is, and it's a tree, it's a fruit, it's something that someone tilled their life with, and because that's how they have to live to pay for where they're at. Like that's just what they do. They're farmers, and they're trying to catch up with modern times because it's hard. I mean, even us, thinking about what we pay for and how much gas is now, like $8 almost a gallon. Like they're working hard every day, sun up, sun down, to produce something that's a luxury to everyone else. I'm happy to support, like try to get farmers and more like that and get smaller batch coffee from them. And I can't afford to pay the $8 to $12 a pound, but I mean, I try to do as much as I can, and I try to make sure that the places I buy from, definitely they make sure to meet all the standards, that everything's a fair wage. What I learned one time was that like the organic branding is that like you have to pay for that to have that on a bag. And it's like, okay, well, if you do your research, I don't think you need it on the bag. Unless you know about what is it, Atomo Coffee, who are making it up in San Francisco, like molecule by molecule. Like that's not real coffee, but that's really the only thing that I would say is like not organic. And even then, I think there's still something that is organic a part of it. I've signed up for their newsletter, so I've been waiting for a chance to buy their coffee. I think the first batch like sold out real quick, and I was like so bummed because I was at work. It's like a reminder, got to buy this coffee to try it out. I mean, it's me. It's how cool is that? It's science. Like you just made it.
The organic thing is an interesting conversation. We get a farm box, a CSA at our house, and it's not the farm that we buy it from isn't officially organic. But when I talk to the farmer who comes to our local markets and we talk about, how he does it, because we would prefer to have an organic food, he just kind of
Yeah.
laughs. He's like, well, it's organic because we can't afford the, the pesticides that you would need for it not to be.
Exactly.
We've been growing it the same way for 40 years. Like, this is what we do. And, having those
Yeah.
conversations and taking that extra step. And not everyone has the time or the privilege of the time to do that. They're,
Yeah.
working their jobs, or they're surviving in a different way. But when you do have that opportunity by doing that, it is beneficial to you and also beneficial to the end farmer. I want to make sure that I ask you if there's anything that I didn't ask you about today.
I think we kind of just jumped all over the place. Really.
Yeah, we really covered a lot. I'll be honest, ever since you said Winchell's, I've been craving a donut. So I know what I'm going to do the rest of my day.
I said it. If you ever come up here, there's a place in San Juan Capistrano, JD Flannel Donuts. They're the best donut I've ever had around here. He makes them out of croissant dough. He makes croissant dough donuts. Like, it's not a cronut, it's a donut. It is a donut, but he uses croissant dough for everything. He's got this smoked apple fritter that's delicious, and it has that smoke. It has smoke in it. It tastes like a smoky apple pie. Like, it's delicious. And he had like a brown sugar and sea salt. Like, those, like, they're expensive, but he's craft, and I'm happy to support any chance I get because they're so good. I mean, it's just like Winchell's, like, this is a classic. Like, I grew up with it too, so every once in a while I'm like, okay, there's still one around down the street from me, so I'll go and try to get a box for the family and stuff on Sundays.
I mean, we didn't have Winchell's where I grew up, but I watched this great documentary called The Donut King, where they kind of told the story of Winchell's. It's worth it to watch if anyone's listening. When you are going out, when you are out in the world and you're buying a cup of coffee somewhere else, what are you ordering for yourself?
Everything. I usually stick with a shot of espresso, an iced Americano, and their cold brew. Almost every time.
Yeah, just those three things.
I usually buy just those three things for myself, not including anyone else that's with me. I usually try to order that, or at least an iced Americano, and then like a drip. Like, just, I always want to see what other people are doing as, like, okay, this is our base. Because I think that's where everything starts. Like, you have to have a good base. And if you have a good base, no matter what you add to it, it's going to taste good. Just newer drinks, newer fads, the orange juice and espresso, or, the Arachino, or like anything like that. As long as you have a good, solid base coffee, no matter what you do to it, it's still going to be good. Unless you just ruin it somehow, which is, I think, just tons and tons of something. And then all you taste is the something instead of coffee. But I mean, I know everyone's different. Everyone likes their coffee a certain way. And I try to be as open as I can to everybody, because I'm not going to ever, I remember those days when it was like, you can't say it like this, it's this. And you had their barista, unfortunately, had that attitude. It was like, yes, this is great, but you got to say it right. And if you don't say it right, then I'm just going to hear and give you that stare of like, come on. Like, I remember those days. I don't think I've ever done that, but I mean, I remember those days. So I think that's just, again, passionate about, like, what I do is, like, I try to make it as, if I enjoy it, I have a pretty high standard for things. And if I enjoy it, it's got to be good for everyone else, I think. And so far, I've only had one person tell me they didn't like a coffee, and it's only because they like a darker roast. Other than that, they're like, it's pretty good, but I prefer a darker roast. And I'm like, okay, that's no problem, man. Like, just happy to hear you enjoyed it.
Yeah, the best coffee is the coffee that you like. Like your grandparents and your mom did, where they added a lot of cream and sugar. Cream and sugar is just it's kind of like ice cream. It's
for sure.
Brings out all the sweetness in that coffee, and if that's what gets you started down that coffee path, then that's all good. So, Mateo, thank you for spending an hour with me and telling me about your story and how you got to where you're at now. I feel like we could probably have another chat another year from now, and we'll have a whole nother hour to talk about.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We can probably just throw that on the calendar now. But I really appreciate how passionate you are about what you're doing. And as a micro roaster, I understand what it's like to be working and have a job, and then have this thing that is the thing that keeps you going when you're doing your job. And Nothing against your job. I'm sure it's great.
Oh,
But
yeah, no.
I appreciate that and the effort that it takes to follow through. So congratulations, and I still got a little bit of your coffee left to enjoy this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you too, man.
Okay, to recap. Winchell's Donuts has been in business since 1948. That is 73 years of donut and coffee operations. The home of the Warm and Fresh Donut claims to be the largest chain on the West Coast, with about 170 locations. I should add that they offer a 14 donut baker's dozen in the box, so an extra donut that doesn't need to make it home. There are still Nordstrom's cafes, which they now call E-bars. There isn't a clear list of which shops have them and which don't, but Las Vegas, New York City, along with California's San Jose, Glendale, and Roseville, list menus online. Mateo was in the coffee industry at Nordstrom's, left, and was then inspired to return after the passing of his mother. He's in an interesting position where he can access the coffee industry and get advice from the coffee community faster and easier than ever. But also, starting a small coffee roasting operation is a trending passion for a lot of people, making the side hustle more of a challenge. And that may be true for you too. For those of you, Mateo included, who have been roasting coffee and looking toward a future where coffee is your career, I definitely wish you luck on your journey. And I hope this show has helped clarify your goals, or taught you something, or shared an entrepreneurial story that inspired you like this one today. Finally, I really like the name Thoughts and Process Coffee, which was inspired by Mateo's LiveJournal blog. I have a lot of thoughts about coffee, and about the state of the world, and about my own future in the coffee industry. But I don't always, rarely give myself the time to process those thoughts. What better than over a cup of Mateo's coffee? Head to thoughtsandprocesscoffee.com to order Mateo's roasted-to-order coffees, or link to his Instagram page. You'll also find links to those on roastwestcoast.com, which is where you can and should subscribe to the newsletter that accompanies this podcast. I'll email you every episode with details on the show, more coffee information, links to our sponsors and to our guests. And if you sign up for a paid subscription, you can also access the Bean Journal, featuring coffee roasters from up and down the West Coast and beyond. Thanks to Mateo for being so willing to share his story, and for being the one to reach out to me. He made my job hosting and producing this show easy. The next show is the last of Season 5, and it features coffee consultant Lily Quiros. That episode, and all 100-plus episodes of this show, are brought to you with support from my roast industry partners, including Zumbar Coffee and Tea, Moster Coffee Company, Steady State Coffee Roasting, Camp Coffee Company, Ignite Coffee Company, Ascend Roasters, Coffee Cycle Roasting, First Light Whiskey, Maria Coffee, Cape Horn Coffee Importers, and Cafe La Terre. Links to those companies are on roastwestcoast.com, and I'm always sharing and reposting their social media on the Roast West Coast Instagram. This episode of the Roast West Coast Coffee Podcast has been written, produced, and recorded by me, Ryan Wolt, not from the closet, but from the basement, and I hope this show has found you happy, healthy, and with at least enough sanity to make it through the day. For those of you headed out for a cup of coffee this week, please always tip your baristas, and be sure to drink good coffee. Happy 70th birthday, Polly. Hey everyone, don't forget to use that promo code RWC using capital letters on thoughtsandprocess.com. You'll get 15% off your first order, and I've got the link on roastwestcoast.com and in this podcast episode's show notes.
I like beer.
Hey everyone, if you like the Roast West Coast Coffee Podcast, you might also appreciate the I Like Beer the podcast. Listening to these guys is like being a fly on the wall of the pub with a few of your favorite mates having a pint. These professional beer appreciators have plenty of stories to share on everything from the mating habits of penguins to their behind-the-scenes brewery experiences. Check out the I Like Beer the podcast wherever you are listening to this show about coffee, or head to ilikebeerthepodcast.com.